So now 5 steps to put your project and your career in the right direction. We'll talk about DevOps being developers and operations working together. We also now have DevOps SEC because it's developers, operations, and security teams working together. And when you mention this, the whole point is about focus on the teams and how the teams can communicate, how we can put everyone in the same place, all of that. This is all great, right? And then that's when you do this kind of discussion, you start talking about culture, right? You know, because DevOps is a culture on your company because the whole teams have to change. Well, right now, I want to focus on a more specific part, right? What is your responsibility on DevOps? Because for me, DevOps is you take responsibility for delivering your project. So you, whether you are a developer, whether you are an operation, whether you are security, whether you are marketing, right? DevOps is about all of us working together to deliver the project on time, to deliver the best software for our customers, to deliver a non-buggy software to our customers, to actually have no downtime so the customer can have access to the software all the time. That's what DevOps is all about. So it starts with you take responsibility for your project, right? And when you talk about DevOps this way, it's very similar to your career. Your career is your career. It's not your company's career. It's not your team's career. It's not your customer's career. It's your career. So take responsibility for your career has everything to do with take responsibility for your project. So this is what we're going to talk about here now. 5 steps that can put your project, but also your career, in the right direction. Now, my name is Bruno Souza. I'm known as the Brazilian Java Man, and I've been helping developers like you and also operations and IT people of all sorts to help you get your project and your career in the right track. So let's dive in. What are the 5 steps that you need to take? The first step is understanding where you are. Well, you can't start a project without understanding that. So what does that really mean? You know, first of all, if you don't know the technology that your project is working, if you don't know the objectives that your customer have, if you don't understand what is it your company wants, right? If you don't know exactly where you are right now, if you don't know what problems you have, if you don't know the good things that you have, how can you improve any of that? How can you move forward? How can you direct this to the right path, to the right direction, if you have no idea where you are? How can, it doesn't matter that you have a map that can get you to the point you want to get if you don't know where you are in the map, right? You have to find where you are so you can get to where you want to be. So it's extremely important that you map yourself, right? And that is true for your project. But it's also true for your career. It's also true for you, so you can really understand what is it you have that can move you forward. So how do I understand that? Well, first of all, you have to understand your strong points in your project and your career. So what are the good things that you have? What are the good things that are going on in your project right now? What is the right technology that you decided? What is the architecture that you define it that works well? Once you understand what is doing well in your project, you can move forward a lot better because now you can use the things they're doing well, they're well done to actually get the bad things, fix it. You see, because there are things, for example, in your career, there are things that you're very good at. Let's say I'm very good at Java. I'm known as the Brazilian Java Man, so I'm very good at Java. So I can use my knowledge of Java to improve and to move me forward on things that I'm not very good at. So for example, I'm not very good at Scala. Well, but if I understand the relationship between Java and Scala, the similarities and the differences, I can now use my knowledge of Java to learn better about Scala. So once you understand, so take a look at your project right now. See what are the good things, see what the things that they're done right. See where the good things are so you can use them to improve the wrong things. But now, the same way that you understand your strong points, you have to understand your weak points. A lot of people try to do their projects by just thinking, oh, we are very good at this, so let's keep doing this. And then you forget that your project is not going to fail because of the good things that you have. Your project is going to fail because of the weak points, right? Like in a chain, it breaks at the weak point. So if you don't understand your weak points, they're going to make you fall. So take a look at your project right now. What are the things that are very weak? What are the things that you never put any effort in? What are the things that you don't have anyone with enough knowledge to work on this? Understand where your weak points are. And that's the same thing for your career. Take a look, understand where you're not very good at. What are the things they're missing? Because you can decide to improve the things that are not good, or at least avoid them, work around them so you don't have to fall on those traps. It's very, very important that you understand your weak points. Now, when you're talking about a project, it's amazingly important that you understand your team. Understand where the weak and strong points are for everyone in your team. Who are with you? Who is against you, right? Or against the project. There's a lot of people that, they have the negative approach to the project. They think like, oh, the project's not going to work. We don't have the time. This new technology is going to fail. If you know who is good at doing what, or actually who is bad at doing what, you can work with the right people to achieve success. And so understand the strong points, the weak points of your team is important, but even more than your direct team. Understanding what your boss wants, right? Understands, what your company wants. It's very important that you understand all of those people, because once you know where they stand, it's a lot easier for you to plan your project accordingly. So if you have people, for example, in your team that are afraid of experimenting new technology, what does that mean? Can you find some ways to help them apply new technology or learn new technology? Or maybe can they be working on specific parts of the project where they don't need to learn new technology? It's important that you understand who the people you're working with. A lot of times, a lot of the problems that we see at DevOps is because operations wants to do things in one way and developers want to do things another way, and they don't understand each other. So when you work together, when you try to understand who they are, when you as a developer, you try to understand operations, a lot easier for you to get things done. And vice versa. If your operations, once you understand better what developers want, it's a lot easier. Even if your company has no DevOps process, even if your company is not even trying to do DevOps, you can do this yourself. You can take this responsibility in your hands. And that's the same thing for your career. Who is your team in your career? It's your friends, it's your relatives, your family, it's your boss. There's a lot, it's your colleagues, people that you meet in events, right? Those are part of your team. If you understand where they are, if they have similar goals as you, if they're trying similar things as you, or if they're trying something completely different, you can rely on them and you can help them out and they can help you better. The other thing that's very important for you to get your project going in the right direction is to understand your customers. Ultimately, what you're doing is helping your customers succeed. If you stop doing this, or if you forget this objective, if you forget exactly what that is, or if you don't know, because a lot of people don't know. They're like, oh, I'm the technical guy. I'm just going to be here coding. And I have no idea who the customer is. I have no idea what the problem is. Though that's a marketing problem. It's not. It's your problem. When you're writing some code, if you don't understand what your customer needs, if you don't understand what your customer wants, if you don't understand how you're helping your customer achieve their success, then you can't really do it. So it's important that you understand, and once you understand that, it's going to be a lot easier for you to move forward. And in your career, you might think, oh, that has nothing to do with my career, because I don't have customers in my career. Yes, you do. You are working for a company that's paying you to do something. You're working, you're presenting, you're giving a talk, for example, or you're writing a blog, or you're tweeting something on the social media. There is a people looking at you. They're reading what you wrote. They are watching what you're speaking. They're running your code, right? So if you don't understand those people, how can you grow in your career? How can you succeed in life, right? So understanding your customer and understanding who your customer is, it's amazingly important. And last but not least, you have to understand yourself. You have to know who you are, where you want to go, where you stand right now. You stop pretending, right? There is one thing that we talk about in software development a lot. There is the imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is that notion that you don't know what you're doing, and then but you have to pretend you do, right? So people are going to actually find out in the moment that you don't know what you're doing. So let's stop pretending. We never know what we're doing. We're always doing new things. So we're always experimenting with new things. We're always trying new things. Every time we're doing the same thing over and over and over, it gets boring. So everyone is experimenting. So it's true, we don't know what we're doing. So let's assume this. Let's understand that we have to be better at what we're doing. So understand you, understand your fears, understand your motivations. Once you understand all of that, it's going to be a lot easier. So once you understand where you are, once you understand, your strong points, your weak points, how your team works, what your customers need, once you understand yourself, now you know where you are in the map. So now you can trace your route to where you want to go. And of course, this is the next step, right? Where do you want to go? So the next step is you have to define clear objectives. Clear objective is the point on the map that you want to go. Is the point on the map where you want to get to, right? Because if you don't get to that point, then you're going to fail, right? But you have to understand where that is, because it doesn't help you know where you are if you don't know where you want to go, because then you can go anywhere. There's a phrase that I love on the Alice in Wonderland's cartoon, where Alice says, "Which way do I go?" And the cat asks, "Where do you want to go?" And she says, "Oh, it doesn't matter. Anywhere is fine." And then the cat says, "Well, it doesn't matter where you want to go. Any path is okay to get there." And that's the problem that I see all the time in projects and in careers. Your project, you have no idea where you want to get. You have no idea your objectives. You don't know, how many customers you want in your project. You don't know what your customers want. You don't know what's important in terms of security, what's important in terms of availability. You don't know any of that. And so how can you actually get your project on the right direction if you don't know any of that? And it's the same in your career. If you don't know how far you want to go in your career, you don't understand. You can't move in that right direction. So how do I do this, right? Well, first of all, in your project, it's amazingly important to understand what is your customer's need. We already talked about understanding who your customer is. Now you have to understand what their needs are. What is your customers really looking for? And maybe you have to talk with the marketing team if you're in a large company. But if you're in a startup, maybe you have to call on and talk with a customer directly. You have to understand who they are, right? You have to understand what is it they need, really, what they really need. And remember, the customer, it's a very broad term. You might need to understand what your boss wants, what the president of the company wants, right? What's the head of your department wants. You have to understand that so you can move in the right direction. We also have, so look around, right? Look around and see and talk with people. Ask them, ask them what's expected from you. Ask them how you can help them. Ask them what is the biggest challenge they're going through right now. That will help you understand what is that they need. You also have to understand what your team needs. So talk with people, right? Go on a lunch time and discuss with people. So what's wrong? How can you improve things? What is the most important thing in your life right now? What is the biggest challenge that you have in your life? Maybe the guy's going to say, this whole thing about working too many hours is not good for me. So now you have, so we could change the project in a way that could improve that, right? I could do different things in a way that I could help him out. It would help me also, right? So understand what your team needs. It's important. You're a team player, right? It's not about you, it's about them. It's about all of us together, right? So the more you understand about your team, the better. You also have to understand what your company needs. How do you understand that? Go talk with your boss. Yes, have a habit of talking with your boss from time to time. Make sure he understands where you are. Make sure he understands where you're going. Make sure you understand what he wants. Make sure actually, you might find out a lot of times, I've seen this many times, you might find out when you ask for your boss what the company needs, he might not know. But the simple fact that you are asking, it might help him find that out. And the more you understand about that, the better you're gonna be for your team, for your company, for everyone around you. And most important of all, you need to be clear what you want. A lot of us create goals based on what we think other people want from us. So we create our goals for the year, thinking about what is it my boss wants from me? What does my wife want? What do my mom thinks I should need? Forget all of them. It's about you. This time is about you. How can you have to go and do a soul searching to understand what is really that you want. Because the more you make it clear what you want, the better it's going to be the easier it's going to be for you to define your goals and objectives. And a great way for you to find out what is that you want is finding out what is that you hate. So take a look at your life right now. What is your biggest disappointment? What's the biggest regrets that you have right now? The biggest disappointment, the biggest regrets can point to you that the opposite of that is what you want. So spend some time doing this. It's going to make a huge difference for your life. Now that you know what your customer wants, what your team needs, your company needs, what is the thing that you want? Now it's time for you to sit down and turn all of these into clear objectives. There is what we call a template for you to create clear objectives for you. We call it SMARTER. The SMARTER template helps you create objectives that are very, very clear and very focused. So the SMARTER template means your goals have to be specific. They have to be measurable. They have to be actionable. They have to be risky, out of your comfort zone. They have to be time-keyed. You have to have deadlines. They have to be engaging. There must be something you want to do. And they have to be relevant. It has to be something that's important for your life. So get all of those things that you're thinking about and put them into SMARTER goals, because that will help you know exactly where you're going. So now that you know where you are, where you're going, there is some things that you can do to really get there, right? And for me, the most important thing for you to get there is to create a system. What do I mean by that? What is creating a system? Creating a system, the problem is that a lot of people try to do things as one-off, right? You just kind of say, oh, I'm going to do this one thing, and then I'm going to do this other one thing, and then I'm going to do this other one thing. This one things can help you move forward, yes. They can help you do one step. But the problem is that you do one thing, you move one step, and then you have to get all the energy to do one more step again. And then you have to get all your strength together to do one more step again. Well, if you instead of trying to do like one things, you create a system that will help you move forward, right? Things that you're gonna do every day, that you're gonna do frequently, right? That you know exactly what is the thing you're gonna do. When you get at work, you know what you're gonna do. You don't have to be thinking, oh, okay, so what am I going to do today? How am I going to run these things today? No, you have a system for yourself. This is what DevOps is all about. DevOps is creating a system to deliver software. DevOps is creating a pipeline to deliver software. And you can apply the same idea of a pipeline to deliver software to your career. Create this pipeline on your career that will get you doing things frequently enough, on the right times, to actually get you where you want to go. A pipeline to deliver software will help the whole team focus on delivering software. That's what DevOps is about, is Dev, Ops, and Sec, if you prefer, working together to deliver the software. So when there is a pipeline, and there's steps, there's a system. It can be an automated system, it can be a manual system, it doesn't matter. Well, it does. DevOps works a lot better when it's automated, right? But, the more, but it could be manual for a while, right? The important thing is having a system. When you have a system, a lot of things can work the right way. So how do you do this? How do you create this system? Well, first of all, you have to define your processes, right? You have to define the things that you're gonna do. You have to create this pipeline for your project and for your career. What are the things that you want to do frequently? What are the things that has to be done frequently? What are the things that needs to be, how often do you need to deliver software? How often do you need to do steps to increase your career, right? So you have to define those processes. They don't need to be complicated. Sometimes very simple, a shell script can make wonders on a DevOps system, right? An idea that you're gonna work 1 hour a week to write a blog post can make wonders for your career. So they don't need to be complicated, but define those systems that will actually make a difference, things that are actually gonna move you forward. Then once you have that, you have to find out the necessary skills. Is the people in your team ready to do this? Do they need to be trained? Is there something that you need to learn to actually do something? Is there something that you can learn and create something, an automation that everyone can just use so they don't have to learn it? What are these skills needed? Can you bring in someone that already have that skill to help you out? This works for your project and works for your career. Sometimes having a friend that can help you out, it's a lot easier than you having to learn everything. Hiring someone to do something for you, sometimes a lot better. You can have a mentor that will help you do something, or you can hire someone in the team to do an automation that you don't know how to do. All of those are great ways of having the necessary skills in your team. And then you can have to figure out what the roles are necessary. Who has to do what? It's obvious in a project, right? You have different people doing different things. Dev do development, ops do operations, sec do security, right? You have the roles right there. But in your career, it might seem weird, right? But it's not. Sometimes you have to take different roles, but sometimes other people take important roles in your career, right? Your spouse might need to help you some things. Your family, your friends, you might need to ask help for your boss. So find out what are the roles that are necessary for you to move forward into your goals. And once you have, the process, the skills, the roles, you can structure all of these into a pipeline, right? In a pipeline, there is a DevOps pipeline in the project, but it's also a career growth pipeline on your career. And the most important thing, once you have all of these, is that now that you know what needs to be done, you can create habits. Human beings are creatures of habit. It's easier for you to do things if you use it to do things instead if we start everything from scratch all the time. So create habits. Create a writing habit to write your blog post. Create a delivery habit to deliver software every week or every day, every 2 hours, every day before lunch. I don't know. You decide. But once you create those habits, everything it's a lot easier for not only for you, but everyone in your team. You know where you are, you know where you're going, you have a system to get yourself there. There's a lot of things are gonna be moving a lot faster now, because now you're actually gonna be moving forward every single day. And what's gonna happen? Well, it's gonna happen that sometimes, your system's gonna be working so well that you're gonna move off path. right? Instead of you going exactly where you want to go, you're going to move a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left. And then if you don't correct that, what happens is that you start going too much to the left, and then you miss your target. So you have to continuously test your progress. You have to continuously make sure that you're still going the right direction. To continually know that you are going, you're moving forward and not too much to the right, not too much to the left. I know, of course, when you're in a path, you have to go left, you have to go right, and adjust back to get, it's not going to be a straight line ever, of course. But if you don't test, you can't come back, right? If you don't correct, you can't come back. It's like when you're following a GPS, for example. You already know your route. You know exactly how you get there, but then you forgot, you stop looking at the GPS. You just keep going in this one road. And then a GPS said you should turn left way back there, but you don't test, you don't look at the GPS, so you got lost, of course. So you have always to look to see if you're keeping on the right path. So how do I do this? How do I test my progress? You have to define some metrics. You have to be clear. What are the metrics you're going to track? What are the things that you're going to test? What are the things you're going to see if you're going off track or not? How do you think about it? You have to stop and think. How do I know I'm off track? How do I know I'm taking more time than I thought to deliver this project? How do I know that my customers are getting the results they need? How do I know that I'm getting the performance I need in my software? How do I know my team is delivering as much as we expected to do? You have to think about what important metrics. Even one metric is better than none. One metric is infinitely better than none, right? Just a few metrics might give you so much information. And there's so many cool tools to do this on DevOps. You don't even need to do anything. There's tools that collect metrics for you. On your life, in your career, it might be a little bit different. You might have to think about what are the things that you have to do, so you can really track the important things. And then you have to make a plan. Collect those metrics. Are you going to collect them daily? Are you just going to download them from your issue tracker or from your Sonar server or whatever, right? Make sure that you are collecting those metrics. In your career, it might be, once a week. You might just note down the things that you did or the things that you didn't do. Maybe you have a calendar or a to-do list or something that will help you, move forward all the time. And once you have that, when you're collecting those metrics, you also have to have an environment that promotes testing. And on the DevOps, I know when I talk about this to technical people, they just immediately think, oh yes, I have to have, my CI server running my automatic tests. Yeah, you do have all of that. I understand that. But sometimes, even if you have all of these, the environment is not conducive to testing, because no one understands that if you're testing, they're going to make mistakes, right? And so every mistake that happens, people kind of, oh, you are the one that made the mistake. I'm going to fire you, or you're going to be sitting on the corner with the donkey hat on your head. And then if that happens, what happens? No one wants to make mistakes. So everyone fake the tests. They pretend they're testing. And it's so easy for us to do in our career, right? We don't want to see our failures. And so we pretend we're testing. We just count the successes. We never count the mistakes. We never notice the mistakes. And that gets us completely off track because we have no idea where we are anymore. So make sure that you have an environment that allows for you to test, allow for you to experiment. Forgive yourself when you make mistakes. And once you have that, you can also now start evaluating the results. Every week, you can look back at what you did this week and evaluate. I think a weekly analysis, a week evaluation is the best thing you can do. Daily might be too much. Monthly is definitely too little. But if you look back at the past week and you see what worked and what didn't work, and then you can make small adjustments, man, that will take your career and your project so much better. So don't wait until the end of the month. Do it weekly, even if it's just for you. Even if no one else in your project does anything, just do it yourself. So, now we have everything set, right? We know where we are, we know where we're going, we have a system to get us there, we're testing along the way to make sure that we're not lost. Now what do you need to do? Well, go do those things, and then you adjust and repeat, adjust and repeat. Because it doesn't help if you're testing and then you see a mistake and you just continue making the mistake, right? You can at least, okay, I didn't turn the right way, I didn't turn left way back there, so I still need to continue going forward because there's no other left turn for a while, but I'm scheduling to make this left turn in 15 minutes. That's okay. You know, you can adjust. It doesn't need to fix immediately. But you have to understand where you are, and you know, and those things need to be adjusted. You know, adjusting your course is fundamental for you to do anything. Because if you don't adjust your course, you're gonna keep, you know, you're gonna be wrong, and you're gonna be wrong, and you're gonna be wrong. And the more wrong you are, the farther from your objective you're gonna be. So every week you have to adjust, right? You know, if we just talk about evaluating your process, so once you evaluate your process every week, you have to identify what are the improvements you can make. What are the small things you can do this week? Can I schedule sometime next week or next month to create something to fix this forever, right? And sometimes that requires you to reevaluate your objectives. Look around and see, are they still the same? Because sometimes the objectives change. You know, maybe you're trying for some time to solve this one problem for the customer, and then someone in your team met with the customer and said, oh, the customer doesn't have this problem, so we can reevaluate our objectives. Sometimes you want something in your career, and then after 2 or 3 months, you realize, well, that's not really what I want. Reevaluate your objectives. Makes a huge difference. And then fix it, correct, adjust. But more important than that, every time celebrate your successes. This whole point here is not about beating yourself and not wanting to do things and, you know, feeling bad that you're not achieving the right things. No, the whole objective is getting closer and closer to our objectives. So it's important that you celebrate. Look back and say, okay, I did lots of wrong turns, but I'm halfway. Woohoo! Celebrate that with you. You know, celebrate that with your team. You know, go out and you know, do a toast in a bar, or even lunchtime, or just come on and get up and say, guys, we did it. Woohoo! And everyone says yoo-hoo and go back to work. Doesn't matter. Celebrate your success is one of the most important things that you can do to get yourself on the right track. Because there's a lot of failures that are going to put us down. And when you celebrate our success, we remember that we are making progress and that we're getting there. So those five steps here, right? Understand where you are, define clear objectives, create a system, test your progress, adjust and repeat, will get your project on the right direction, but also going to get your career on the right direction. Because DevOps, it's all about you taking responsibility for your project, for your career, for your customers, for your company. And I hope you do this more and more. Thanks a lot.